The lovely music. There I am. Today I will be mainly doing this with a Spanish accent for the majority of the time because it's more fun for me. And for the person asking for a video that they can show to people, a nice concise video, today's video, nice concise video. It's going to go on a long time, today's hangout, but you can just show them the first few minutes and they will probably not understand, but never mind. It's not your problem that they don't understand, it's their problem. Okay, so give me 1 second. Yesterday I was going to do a hangout with Orphan Red. It all went wrong. I hope the audio is coming out okay. Please let me know if it is not coming out okay. Here we have Peter and Pete. Peter and Pete. This video, just show this video to the Globe believers, okay? I'm going to turn, and the volume is okay. I have a speeded up, yes. And I'm going to play it, so enjoy. How to disprove is called How to Disprove Gravity with 2-meter Vacuum Tube. This is just a show, you know, you can do this at home yourself. If you have a vacuum pump and a tube. It's very clever. This is very clever, see? Haha! It's a magnet, it's holding the iron knot, the steel knot. The steel knot is holding the non-magnetic copper. When the steel knot lose contact with the magnet, with the magnetism anyway, then they fall, both of them, in a vacuum chamber. What should happen, according to the theory of gravity, is that they should remain in contact all the way down because, well, you saw the copper was standing on the shoulders of the iron of the steel knot. You saw it. So let's see what happens. Now they put the pump on and they check. And I have speeded it up. You can watch it. By the way, there is a link to the book that they wrote in the description of the video that you're watching. If you're finding my accent tiresome, then tough titty for you, fish face. I'm going to carry on for as long as I want. Sí, hispanohablante, voy a seguir con este acento. Okay, so let's look now. Oh, wait. They rotate the camera. Now, I'm just going to say, Peter and Pete, it would be good if when you're editing the video, you rotated the video so it's falling down, but never mind. Here's the footage we captured. Now, I'm going to slow it down. Look, I just slowed it down. You can watch it. And we're going to look. What the object come in from the left. And let's see, they should be together like they were stuck together. Hello, they are not stuck together. Did you see? They were not stuck together. How can this happen according to gravitational theory of, gravity is a constant, no? But it looks like it's not. So let's watch that again. I hope they show it again. Yes, let's watch that one more time, but slowed down. Now it's slowed down even more because I have already slowed it down. Here comes the knot. And there is the copper. Oh, how can this be happening? Oh, and you can repeat this at home. In fact, MIT, I showed this last week. MIT did this with feathers and some coins, and even there they had coins of 2 different sizes. The biggest coin fell faster than the lighter coin. Even MIT, the dim-dims Okay, this is the video, how to disprove gravity with a 2-meter vacuum tube teaser from Peter and Pete. Subscribe to them. I do. Anyway, close this. Now you can relax a little bit. We're going to watch this one. I hope this one is in normal time, normal speed. I will put it just a little bit faster, okay? We will see. We will see how it plays. Okay, and this is Mike Ball. He's going to again, and this is a good one, because you see, lots of glovelings, because they think that they are very clever, they think that they can answer things. So when a flat earther asks a question, they can say, well, the mathematics say this. So he asked a question, and the not very clever gloveling said, well, the mathematics says this. Okay, well, the mathematics contradicts the real world. And it's the mathematics that you guys answered. You, Rujif. Yes, you. So let's watch.
In this video series, we've been trying to figure out how, in the heliocentric model, a person on the terminator line can see both sun and moon on his horizon at the moment of peak new moon, instead of a couple hours before or after peak new, as this observation shows. The reason we can't is that our line of sight from terminator line to the sun is different than our line of sight to the moon, since the sun is 400 times farther away. So at this moment, a couple of hours before peak new moon, Jane, who is at the terminator line down here, can see both sun and moon on her horizon. Bill, who's at the terminator line up here, is still about 4 hours away from being able to see both sun and moon on his horizon, because it'll take that long for the moon to travel to Bill's horizon line. Keep in mind that we have Bill and Jane traveling at the speed of the Earth's rotation, so they remain on the terminator line at opposite sides of the Earth. So a couple of hours after Jane saw sun and moon on her horizon, and was therefore in the eclipse shadow, the moon has moved to peak new position. At this point, people experiencing high noon are the ones seeing the moon aligned with the sun, and are therefore in the eclipse shadow. At this point, Bill and Jane can still see the sun on their horizons because they remain at the terminator line. But neither of them can see the moon because they can't see around the Earth. Well, at least not to that degree. And if they could, they'd be experiencing an eclipsed sun rise or set as the Middle Earth people are experiencing their eclipsed sun at high noon. Then, another couple of hours after peak new, Bill is finally able to see both sun and moon on his horizon and experience an eclipsed sunset. At the same time, Jane is now 4 hours removed from her eclipsed sunrise. Now, to be sure, globe proponents have certain rescue devices they employ that muddy up the waters. They imagine we can see to a certain degree down to our horizon, a certain degree around the ball Earth, and that refraction causes the sun and moon to appear somewhere other in the sky than where they actually are. So I ended my last video with this question. Adding all the refraction and dip angle that you deem realistic, what is the minimum amount of time before or after peak new moon that a person standing up on the terminator line at sea level within 35 degrees of the equator could see the sun and moon rise or set together? Hubert responded, in this video you show an example where the new moon and sun rise exactly at the same time at the terminator, but not during peak moon, but 1.5 hours earlier and later respectively. I also agree with that. The moon has to move around the Earth by half a degree to a full degree to move from or to peak moon to the place where it blocks the sun for an observer at the terminator line. This corresponds to a time difference of 56 to 108 minutes. Ruhif came up with his answer of 54 minutes as the minimum, and he based that on 35 degrees north or south of the equator. So I'm assuming...
Now, the funny thing is, the remainder of the video is going to show that both of these answers are wrong. Like, when compared with the real world. They're not wrong when compared with the mathematical theory, but when you try to make the mathematical theory an actual geometrical theory, like with geometry, with real angles and with lines, then it breaks down. Oh, it's funny that.
Will agree with Hubert that it'd be closer to 108 minutes at the equator. Of course, 108 minutes is an hour and 48 minutes. So Bill and Jane, from their respective points on opposite sides of the terminator line, are each a minimum of an hour and 48 minutes from seeing that peak new moon on their horizons, assuming they are on the equator. So while it took a while to go through the tedious process, it seems we are all pretty much on the same page now. So how does this concern the heliocentric model? Because in that model, peak full moon is the equal but opposite alignment of peak new moon. So if Bill can see the sun on his horizon here, but it'll be a minimum of an hour and 48 minutes before he can see both sun and this peak new moon on that horizon. Then he's also an hour and 48 minutes removed from seeing the sun on his western horizon at the same time he sees the moon on his eastern horizon. Naturally, the same goes for Jane, who can see the sun on her eastern horizon here, but will have to wait about 2 hours after peak full moon before she can see both the sun on her eastern horizon and the moon on her western horizon at the same time. So enter Exhibit A. On March 20th of this year, I noticed that the peak full moon was going to be above the horizon before the sun set, near my home at 33 north latitude. You can see that the moon rose at 6:35, and the moment of peak full moon was 7 minutes later at 6:42. The sun didn't set until 6:43, meaning that both sun and peak full moon were on my horizon at the same time, when it should be a minimum of 54 minutes after peak full before I could see both sun and moon on my horizon. I tried to capture some footage of it, but it seemed like everything was conspiring against me. I ended up working late, so I had to drive 2 hours like a maniac through rush hour traffic to get to a workable spot, while major storm clouds...
Wait a second. There is no excuse for driving like a maniac through rush hour traffic. No excuse. Unless you really want to.
...blowing in, threatening visibility. Rich was planning on helping out, but his migraine left me on my own.
Now, for anybody who watches this, who knows my ball, or who also watches Mr. Thrive and Survive, please give them a link to this video where I will say something for Mr. Thrive and Survive. Because listen.
Wasn't able to get as far west as I would have liked to, but time was running out, so I couldn't be...
Let me rewind.
But it seemed like everything was conspiring against me. I ended up working late, so I had to drive 2 hours like a maniac through rush hour traffic to get to a workable spot, while major storm clouds were blowing in, threatening visibility. Rich was planning on helping out, but his migraine left me on my own.
You see, Rich, Mr. Thrive and Survive suffer from migraines. I suffer from migraines. Very terrible. I no longer suffer from migraines. I have a solution for Mr. Thrive and Survive. And it's very simple.
I wasn't able to get as far west as I would have liked to, but time was running out, so I couldn't be choosy at that point. Then, when I got there, I had to have some heated words with a javelina who wasn't happy about me trespassing in his territory.
That's a wild boar. Un javelin. Wow.
Anyway, I finally ended up with these time lapses. And wouldn't you know it, after all that, I ended up having one of the cameras pointed in the wrong place. Yep, I was aiming over here, and the moon rose over there. Not that I would have been able to see it well through a mountain and all those clouds anyway, but based on how high it was when I finally saw it, and how long it had been since the sun disappeared, I'm confident that the peak full moon was indeed on or above the horizon, while the sun was still visible. So I went to Stellarium to see what it looked like there. Peak full was at 6:42 p.m. my time, which is 1:42 a.m. UTC time, and my task is easier using UTC time for all events. Note that 6:42 p.m. on March 20th, Arizona time, is 1:42 a.m. on March 21st, UTC time. You'll also notice that I moved Stellarium Guy down to the equator from 33 north, because that makes the minimum time between peak full and seeing the moon on the horizon with the sun an hour and 48 minutes instead of 54 minutes. So according to Ball Earth math, and even allowing for dip angle, this angle, that angle, and refraction, Stellarium Guy should be an hour and 48 minutes removed from being able to see this sun and this moon on his horizon. And to make matters even worse, Stellarium Guy's antipode twin is also seeing the sun and the peak full moon on his horizon from the opposite side of the Earth, when he should...
Now, this is important. Stellarium is replaying and portraying the real world. Okay? You have to understand this. Stellarium is based on observations. It is the mathematical formulas regarding the sphericity of the Earth that do not work. Okay? These people really can't see these moons and these suns at these times. The mathematics says, no, they should have to wait a long time before. Well, no, in the real world, they don't have to wait a long time before.
Also be an hour and 48 minutes removed from seeing such a thing. And this isn't some fluke, once-in-a-lifetime alignment here. This happens every peak full moon all along the equator. You only need to find the longitude that coincides with sunset and peak full, and you'll see that a person there will see both sun and peak full on his horizon, while a person at his antipode will also be seeing sun and peak full on his horizon at the same time. Here's the very next month, and you can see that peak full is at 21:11 UTC time. I just used Reykjavik for the peak times because Iceland never deviates from UTC, unlike London, for instance. And here's what the moment of peak new looks like from on the equator at 48 west longitude. You can see the peak full moon is rising in the east while the sun is setting in the west. That moon is 1 hour and 48 minutes out of heliocentric alignment. And here's the antipode location, where the sun is rising in the east while the peak full moon sets in the west. Now, before someone brings up that the sun and moon aren't perfectly bisected by the horizon, let me point out two things. Firstly, I only use the term perfectly bisected to avoid any petty diversions caused by the bigger-than-all outdoors sun you required me to use. Stellarium doesn't use your mega sun, and so sun and peak full being on the horizon together is enough to make my point. Secondly, is nitpicking really going to help when the moon is a minimum of 1 hour and 48 minutes out of heliocentric alignment? Oh, and by the way, I could play with the longitudinal minutes and seconds until I found the exact spot on Earth where peak full and sun were perfectly bisected by the horizon. I just didn't feel it was necessary to expend that kind of effort when the point is being made without it. It just dawned on me that I skipped right over April, so here is peak full UTC time. Here's sun rising and peak full setting at 77 west longitude, and here's sun setting as peak full rises at 103 east, the antipode. Jumping to June, here's the peak full UTC time. Here's sun rising while peak full sets at 37 west, and here's peak full rising while the sun sets at 143 east. And finally, here's the UTC moment of peak full moon for July 2019. Here's what it looked like from 127 east as sun rose and peak new moon set, and here's what it looked like from 53 west where peak full rose as the sun set. Hopefully you can see by now that I could do this all day. And hopefully you can understand that if this peak new moon is 1 hour and 48 minutes from being seen with the sun on either Bill or Jane's horizons, then the same must be true of peak full moons. And we know it must be true for peak new moons, otherwise we'd actually have the Middle Earth people, Bill and Jane, all seeing an eclipsed sun at the same time. Not to mention all the people on the eclipse path in between them, right? In other words, the entire day side of the Earth would see a solar eclipse at the same time, and this would go on for hours. Now, since peak full is indeed the equal but opposite syzygy alignment of Earth, Sun, and Moon in the heliocentric model, what's good for the goose must also be good for the gander. So if Bill and Jane are each 1 hour and 48 minutes from seeing this peak new moon on their horizon, then they are likewise 1 hour and 48 minutes from seeing this peak full moon on their horizon. Yet observation and heliocentric software tell us that the former works in the model, but the latter doesn't. And we haven't even gotten to lunar eclipses yet to see how they play into all of this. We certainly will, but I'm going to stop it here for now and see what kind of rebuttals we get before moving on. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys stick around because there's still a lot of stuff to come.
Absolutely fantastic work from Mike Ball. A lot of patience. Very well put together. Now, I just want to mention a couple of things because it's interesting. You see this graphic with the Earth very small and something with a purple bar and a tiny thing, and then a long line, black line towards the right to the moon. Do you know who made this graphic? Sly Sparkane made this graphic to counter an argument that I was making with somebody called a political hillbilly. He made this argument saying, no, it's all wrong, the eclipse. Well, he made this graphic to show. It's okay. Now we can use this graphic to show you. Thank you very much. Okay, now, before I go, it just struck me, I'm going to play something. Wait, last speech. I'm going to play the speech given by JFK, because the next section that I'm going to go into, now this is what you just saw is saying, look, the globe is wrong, okay, and the real world does not correspond to a globe. That's what we just saw, okay? The gravity idea, that is the reason for it being a globe, according to the globe believers, is not supporting the globe. Is in fact absolutely undermining the globe. So, now I'm moving on, and I will speak with my normal voice, to explaining aspects of life the people don't really stop to think about. I'll give you a for instance. Here's a for instance. There are terrorist cells around the world. Just play along. There are oh wait, I will stop sharing. So I can share my face, my big brown face. Yeah, it's not so brown, it's just a light. Okay. Play along with this. There are terrorist organizations, terrorist cells around the world. And of course, the security services, they want to find them. And when they find them, they want to infiltrate them. And when they infiltrate them, they want to appear like they are one of them. Otherwise, the people will say, you look like an infiltrator. I don't think you are really with Allah or whatever. So, they have to play a good role of being a genuine, real terrorist. Okay? Now, in order to do this, they have to say all the correct things, move the correct way, do all the correct gestures, so that they can infiltrate. When they're infiltrated, they will do all the correct things, say all the correct things, so that they don't get exposed. I'm going to show you how you can determine when there is either a person or an organization that is an infiltrator, okay? And it's going to be very simple. And for this, I'm going to play what JFK said, because he said something that's very, very specific. And it's going to play on to my next video. So just give me a second.
Remarks of the President to the American Newspaper Publishers Association. Waldorf.
Let me turn the volume up, make sure everything is okay. Turn the speed to normal because due credit, okay. I'm not going to play the video because it's not the video of Kennedy speaking, saying it. Even though it was a press conference, you think they would have a camera. It's the press, no? But no. Anyway, so you're going to look at my face while I, unless you want to go and not look, while we listen.
Astoria Hotel, New York City, April 27th, 1961. Mr. Chairman.
And I am going to play all 20 minutes of it. If you're an impatient patient, wait, I forgot. I was supposed to be speaking in my real voice, or in my normal voice. If you're an impatient person who needs sound bites, go away. Okay? This isn't a place for you. Okay, so here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate very much your generous invitation to be here tonight. You bear heavy responsibilities these days, and the article I read some time ago reminded me of how particularly heavily the burdens of present-day events bear upon your profession. You may remember that in 1851, New York Herald Tribune, under the sponsorship and publishing of Horace Greeley, employed as its London correspondent an obscure journalist by the name of Karl Marx. We are told that foreign correspondent Marx, stone broke, and with a family ill and undernourished, constantly appealed to Greeley and managing editor Charles Dana for an increase in his munificent salary of $5 per installment, a salary which he and Ingalls ungratefully labeled as the lousiest petty bourgeois cheating. But when all his financial appeals were refused, Marx looked around for other means of livelihood and fame, eventually terminating his relationship with the Tribune and devoting his talents full-time to the cause that would bequeath to the world the seeds of Leninism, Stalinism, revolution, and the Cold War. If only this capitalistic New York newspaper had treated him more kindly,
If only Marx had remained a foreign correspondent, history might have been different. And I hope all publishers will bear this lesson in mind the next time they receive a poverty-stricken appeal from a small increase in the expense account from an obscure newspaper man. I have selected as the title of my remarks tonight, "The President and the Press." Some may suggest that this would be more naturally worded, "The President versus the Press," but those are not my sentiments tonight. It is true, however, that when a well-known diplomat from another country demanded recently that our State Department repudiate certain newspaper attacks on his colleague, it was unnecessary for us to reply that this administration was not responsible for the press, for the press had already made it clear that it was not responsible for this administration. Nevertheless, my purpose here tonight is not to deliver the usual assault on the so-called one-party press. On the contrary, in recent months, I have rarely heard any complaints about political bias in the press, except from a few Republicans. Nor is it my purpose tonight to discuss or defend the televising of presidential press conferences. I think it is highly beneficial to have some 20 million Americans regularly sit in on these conferences to observe, if I may say so, the incisive, the intelligent, and the courteous qualities displayed by your Washington correspondents. Nor, finally, are these remarks intended to examine the proper degree of privacy which the press should allow to any president and his family. If, in the last few months, your White House reporters and photographers have been attending church services with regularity, that has surely done them no harm. On the other hand, I realize that your staff and wire service photographers may be complaining that they do not enjoy the same green privileges, the local golf courses, which they once did. It is true that my predecessor did not object, as I do, to pictures of one's golfing skill in action, but neither, on the other hand, did he ever be a Secret Service man. My topic tonight is a more sober one, of concern to publishers as well as editors. I want to talk about our common responsibilities in the face of a common danger. The events of recent weeks may have helped to illuminate that challenge for some, but the dimensions of its threat have loomed large on the horizon for many years. Whatever our hopes may be for the future, for reducing this threat or living with it, there is no escaping either the gravity or the totality of its challenge to our survival and to our security. A challenge that confronts us in unaccustomed ways in every sphere of human activity. This deadly challenge imposes upon our society two requirements of direct concern, both to the press and to the president. Two requirements that may seem almost contradictory in tone, but which must be reconciled and fulfilled if we are to meet this national peril. I refer first to the need for far greater public information, and second, to the need for far greater official secrecy. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, There is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
I'm going to replay that part.
To the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to
And again.
intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent. It requires a change in outlook, a change in tactics, a change in missions by the government, by the people, by every businessman or labor leader, and by every newspaper. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. Nevertheless, every democracy recognizes the necessary restraints of national security. And the question remains whether those restraints need to be more strictly observed if we are to oppose this kind of attack as well as outright invasion. For the facts of the matter are that this nation's foes have openly boasted of acquiring through our newspapers information they would otherwise hire agents to acquire through theft, bribery, or espionage, that details of this nation's covert preparations to counter the enemy's covert operations have been available to every newspaper reader, friend and foe alike, that the size, the strength, the location, and the nature of our forces and weapons, and our plans and strategy for their use have all been pinpointed in the press and other news media to a degree sufficient to satisfy any foreign power, and that in at least one case, the publication of details concerning a secret mechanism whereby satellites were followed required its alteration at the expense of considerable time and money. The newspapers which printed these stories were loyal, patriotic, responsible, and well-meaning. Had we been engaged in open warfare, they undoubtedly would not have published such items. But in the absence of open warfare, they recognized only the tests of journalism and not the tests of national security. And my question tonight is whether additional tests should not now be adopted. That question is for you alone to answer. No public official should answer it for you. No governmental plan should impose its restraints against your will. But I would be failing in my duty to the nation in considering all of the responsibilities that we now bear and all of the means at hand to meet those responsibilities if I did not commend this problem to your attention and urge its thoughtful consideration. On many earlier occasions I have said, and your newspapers have constantly said, that these are times that appeal to every citizen's sense of sacrifice and self-discipline. They call out to every citizen to weigh his rights and comforts against his obligations to the common good. I cannot now believe that those citizens who serve in the newspaper business consider themselves exempt from that appeal. I have no intention of establishing a new Office of War Information to govern the flow of news. I am not suggesting any new forms of censorship or new types of security classifications. I have no easy answer to the dilemma that I have posed and would not seek to impose it if I had one. But I am asking the members of the newspaper profession and the industry in this country to re-examine their own responsibilities, to consider the degree and the nature of the present danger, and to heed the duty of self-restraint which that danger imposes upon us all. Every newspaper now asks itself, with respect to every story, is it news? All I suggest is that you add the question, is it in the interest of national security? And I hope that every group in America, unions and businessmen and public officials at every level, will ask the same question of their endeavors and subject their actions to this same exacting test. And should the press of America consider and recommend the voluntary assumption of specific new steps or machinery, I can assure you that we will cooperate wholeheartedly with those recommendations. Perhaps there will be no recommendations. Perhaps there is no answer to the dilemma faced by a free and open society in a cold and secret war. In times of peace, any discussion of this subject and any action that results are both painful and without precedent. But this is a time of peace and peril which knows no precedent in history. It is the unprecedented nature of this challenge that also gives rise to your second obligation, an obligation which I share, and that is our obligation to inform and alert the American people, to make certain that they possess all the facts that they need and understand them as well, the perils, the prospects, the purposes of our program, and the choices that we face. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security, and we intend to do it. It was early in the 17th century that Francis Bacon remarked on three recent inventions already transforming the world: the compass, gunpowder, and the printing press. Now the links between the nations, first forged by the compass, have made us all citizens of the world, the hopes and threats of one becoming the hopes and threats of us all. In that one world's effort to live together, the evolution of gunpowder to its ultimate limit has warned mankind of the terrible consequences of failure. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go on to the next part, then circle back to the compass, which was invented by the Chinese and was made to point south. Okay? I know Cosmic Surfer will be like, oh, cool. Right. I just played that because what Kennedy was warning about was infiltration, was systems being changed covertly without people really noticing what was being changed and how and by whom. He wasn't talking about just the Cold War. He was talking about how the Cold War was being conducted, what it meant. Let's remember, it meant the Soviet system was trying to enter the United States. The Soviet system that killed approximately 30 million people, mainly through starvation, which was bailed out by Kennedy, by the way. Kennedy organized for the sending of the food. And the repayment was, we'll put some missiles in Cuba. So, this is Slice Sparkane. Not my best friend. He's made some stupid mistakes, like in the past, accusing yours truly of doctoring something from a result, because it kind of, it's a long story. I showed that a photograph could be replicated on a flat surface, and only on a flat surface, and he modeled it on a computer. I said, no, look, do it on a flat surface. He didn't. I showed how I'd done it on a flat surface, and because I showed how I'd done it, he accused me of having used differently sized objects and then having cropped them for the showing, the reveal. So, and here's how I did it. But really, I'd cut one. I hadn't at all. He didn't really retract it. He kind of, in a comment, he said, oh, maybe I made a mistake. He said, I did say it appears. Anyway, the point is, I made a video about it, straightforward. It's like, no, it's a silly person. No. That's what you do. You engage. You don't. Well, I'm going to play the video. I'm going to play portions of it. I'm going to speed it up. And I have no fear of Sly Sparkane, a global believer who's been in long arguments against yours truly, issuing a copyright strike.
This is everybody. I wanted to let you know of something that just happened right now. And some people might have noticed, but I don't know if anybody else noticed. This just happened in like the last 5 minutes. Okay, first of all, I received last night, after Globebusters, as promised by Mike Kavanaugh, because he stated that he ordered the directors to all claim privacy claims against me, as far as using a publicly available, non-membership related, open and available to 100% to the public, About Us page from FE Core. So, check this out. Hold on, let me go ahead and put this here. Right screen, that off, transition. Alright, so, first of all, I want to show that actually, as of this moment at least, I do not have any strikes against my channel, which is odd enough in itself. Let me go ahead and refresh that. Okay, still do not have any strikes against my channel. Don't know how that works, but you know what, because it would fall under a community guideline status, I don't know. But, no, that's the live stream. I also, at this moment, do not have any new messages coming through here, as far as notices from Google or YouTube. Now, a little while ago, I was, let me duplicate this, hold on a second. A little while ago, I was, community, going to my comments, I was responding to this idiot, what do you call it, and he had posted a second post that, like I said, this guy here is kind of irrelevant to the subject, it was just how I noticed it. He had posted something on my, on this video, and then, as most flat earthers do, decided he was going to say other things on another video, which was the actual This Is FE Core video, which was the next thing above here. However, and we'll go ahead and refresh this. However, yeah, nothing new. When I came back to this, because I actually, I told him I wanted him to answer his first claim, which is calling me a liar, of course, which is, yawn. How many times do I get called that a week by flat earthers? I was actually responding to all of the crap that he wrote here, and then I came back and I saw that his thing was there, his thing on his comment on the other video, and then when I went to go respond to that, I just refreshed to see if he had responded to this one yet with my request, which he didn't, and his comment was gone, and I was like, all right, well, maybe YouTube screwed up somewhere. And so, those of you not familiar, inside of YouTube, inside of your control panel when you go with comments, which I hate the new one, I'm always on the classic one because it actually notifies you of new stuff, you can sort the comments that are displayed by what video you have. And I noticed that the This Is FE Core video was not even in the list. So, I was like, oh, well, it's also not unusual that not all your videos show up in the list there, so I figured I'd go over to my video list, and then arrive at his comment there. And this is what I arrived at. Let's get this nice and big for those who are on mobile devices. My This Is FE Core video has been in some way disabled. I can do nothing about it. As far as the actions that I can do, let's see, community contribution, ad breaks, monetization title, there is nothing I can really do with this. So, right now, this is where that's at. Now, I'm trying to hold my tongue, I really am. I really am. Because this is, you know what, I'm going to say this out loud to the board members of FE Core. You didn't like my video, even though all of my video was public information and was public fact, okay? Now, and I'm sorry, I'm usually trying to be nice to Kavanaugh, because I really think that he was kind of sent up a river here by the other folks in FE Core, making him the president while he is not a U.S. citizen, which has nothing to do with my thoughts of him not being a U.S. citizen. They just want to put this in put the driver's seat, or put the wheel in the hands of somebody that it's a little bit more difficult for the U.S. government to get hold of, while they are trying to maintain a fraudulent nonprofit organization in the state of Indiana. Now, and fraudulent, I mean, look at this action alone. This action alone tells you all you really need to know about FE Core. It really does. It tells you everything, that you need to know. Let's see, it could be that YouTube hit it pending their... No, and I totally agree with you, Stanislav. So he wrote on here, it could be that they hit it while they're doing their privacy checks. And that's cool. That's cool. Okay, but I haven't received any kind of a notification in my Gmail yet, which is what is connected to my YouTube account. So, like I said, I'm just kind of in hover at the moment. But I'm going to tell you this, and I told Mike Kavanaugh this as well. If this ends up becoming a strike at my channel, or if something ends up being negatively impacting my channel for producing factual public information, I'm going to say that again, factual public information. If something happens to my channel about this, of course, I will abide by the ruling of YouTube, because, I'll make my comments to it, but I will abide by the rules of YouTube, because I understand that I am using a free service, therefore I have to abide by their guidelines. Totally cool with that.
Slice Arcane, you don't have a choice of whether or not to abide by their guidelines. Just so you know. Okay, let's continue.
I will, however, release a redacted version. And Mike, I told you in an email, that will not go well for you. Okay? I'm trying to be factual with you. I am trying to be cordial with you. You don't have to dig it, but at least I'm being respectful. This right here is just nothing more than a sucker punch. Okay? This is what kids do. So, I feel it necessary to also add to this video. I have released a letter to the Department of State, or the Secretary of State of the state of Indiana, Ms. Lawson. I have written a letter to her explaining my findings of FE Core and how they are in violation of Article 2. I have also put a link in there to the video, which they will now not be able to see. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. And so that's gonna have fun with my credibility on that particular letter, but it doesn't matter. The complaint is already submitted, and it's also quite detailed information anyway that I put into that letter. Mike, I tried to be cool with you, man. I really tried to be cool with you, and like I said, you ain't got to dig it, but you cannot say that everything that was in that video was not public and factual. Even though you're trying to tell the United States government that you are not a flat earth organization, you have said it many times, and you even recommended me to go to Globebusters yesterday to listen to Bob, even though your specific words were, if it doesn't come through FE Core, it's nothing directly associated or related with FE Core itself. If it comes out on another channel, it's worthless. That's what you said. Those were your words, many times over. Okay.
You see, when a flat earth organization says, if it doesn't come through this channel, it's worthless, it's like, well, maybe you should open your eyes and look at what some of the smaller channels are doing, which is more instrumental to flat earth than, well, what your organization is doing. Let's face it, we're talking about FE Core right now. FE Core, what they're going to do is the momentous relaying of a signal between 2 points, something that's been done many times before. That's right, including last century, for a much longer distance. But they're going to do it again and get funding for it. And you see this as a reward for their closed society members. That's right, you heard, closed society. That's why I replayed that from Kennedy. It's a closed society, the FE Core Society. It looks like somebody didn't really get the lessons of history. But let's continue.
I also, but just to throw in there as a couple of notes, Bob said numerous times that he was that they were trying to prove the Earth to be flat as FE Core. But as you said, that's not something that can be taken against FE Core, because that's just the opinion of one of your board members. Even though you pointed me at the site in an email that I needed to go listen to him after you called me a two-faced bitch. Yeah. So you want to go this route, Mike? We'll go this route. Okay. I was not trying to go this route at all. The information that I put out was factual, and so because you couldn't defend against it, because there was nothing you could say about defending against it, you had to put in privacy complaints. I mean, really, privacy complaints about using a page which you have open to the public. It's not even doxing information. Privacy claim, my left nut. Okay, so this is not being mad. You didn't win anything here. Okay, this is just me staring in the face of bullshit. Okay, but like I said, should that video remain down? That's fine. Like I said, I am not here to argue against YouTube, because unlike flat earthers who bitch and complain about censorship, but then at the same time want to try and censor me, which was the whole front end of that Globebusters episode last night. Oh, censorship, they're trying to keep me from the truth and all this other stuff. And then you turn around and pull bullshit privacy claims on me? What kind of fucking hypocrites? Oh my God. Oh, they're trying to keep us from the truth. No. No. All right? But nevertheless, me personally,
You see, if you're engaged in this whole investigation or pursuit of truth, you can't then complain when somebody does that against you and seeks the truth against you and publishes that truth against you. You can't complain. If it's truth, it's truth. But let's continue.
I will follow the ruling of YouTube because, again, I realize that I am utilizing a free service and I am subject to their terms of service. However, a redacted version will be put out if this video remains down. I'm going to give it a day or two because, you know, I agree with what Stanislav just said a minute ago, that it might be just on hold right now while they do their privacy review. I'm totally cool with that. Okay? Totally cool with that. But this right here shows that the idiots at FE Core were ordered. And, and by the way, hold on a second. Like I said, since all this shit's out the door anyway, let me see. Mike Kavanaugh, where is it? Let me go ahead and tell you the information that was stated here. I'm going to kind of trim this down so people don't see Mike's email address because I'm an upstanding guy. So, let's see. He stated on here, well, this was not the one that I want to bring up, but this, this is close enough. Being a lying, two-faced scumbag has a price slide, and I'm more than happy to bring the hammer down on you. Our pictures, this is where I thought it was funny. Public is to him, only public for them. Our pictures are for public display on our channel and our website, and not on slanderous disinformation channel like yours. Funny. Show me where I have slandered anybody. Now look up the definition of slander. Slander actually includes in it saying something that is untrue. Everything I showed was public. You putz. Okay, that's insulting, by the way. That's not slander. That's insulting. Let's see. And then he had asked me, he said something to me about me doing using their logo, their flat Earth logo, as part of my video when I was changing the words around. I told him it's fair use, which it is, and it barely even covers it. Okay. Let's see. Fair use is only applicable when the information is factual. Actually, that's not true. Fair use has no requirement in it anywhere that the information that you use is factual or not. Look it up. Okay. It just means that you can use it for critique and blah blah blah. Okay. It actually doesn't even mean that you have to be factual, but you cannot argue that I was not factual in anything that I produced in that video. And you are deliberately misleading your viewers with bogus content. Well, you are taking money from your viewers and producing basically empty or incomplete content. So, and that's what I'm reporting on. So, you take that for however you want. Your time is up, you lying, spineless wimp. What a little bitch. Anyway, hold on. But that actually wasn't the one I wanted to show you. Let's see here. We're also going to this was funny. We are also going to retroactive on all of your videos, and we will add a copyright claim for displaying or modifying our logo. Don't bother replying. I'm not interested in your bullshit anymore.
So, you heard several times, we are going to. Okay, let's listen some more.
Yeah, still wasn't the one though. Hold on. Was it the harassment one? Yeah, this is, by the way, you are not the sharpest tool in the shed, Sly? Do you know what the smell of defeat smells like? Lift up your arm and sniff your armpit. Dude, are you like in second grade or something? Let's see.
Sly, dude, you should have realized by now you're not dealing with a full shilling, as we say in Britain. Mike Kavanagh is not a full shilling. You can train people into doing jobs to give them the appearance of aptitude in other realms of life. You just assume, Wolfie can fly a plane, therefore he must be able to go and take clear photographs. You assume that, It's not always the case. Mike Kavanagh is not a very bright person. He's not a full shilling. That's the British expression. It's an excellent expression because you can take it to mean he hasn't got a full set of working cognitive pathways, as in is stupid, or as in is a bit retarded. Take your choice.
Here we go. I've asked all 7 directors to file the same harassment complaint to YouTube. Funny, I never got a harassment complaint. I got a privacy complaint.
You see, here we're seeing action being directed by a closed group promoted by, well, the other people who were compromised in the flat earth discussion. All of the groups that promote FE Core are now compromised. That's part of the point of infiltration. It's part of the point, see? So, going back to the terrorist cell. There's a terrorist cell in this little unknown town. So they're infiltrated and something happens, and now everybody knows there was a small terrorist cell in this nondescript town. That causes suspicion on all of the other small groups of like people who meet in other nondescript towns. You see, it's very effective.
3 times. So this is saying that you actually ordered your board to try and take down my video to hide the fact that the information that was in it was factual and not necessarily playing in your favor. Okay? Let's see. 3 strikes and you're out, buddy. It was nice having you around, though. If I were you, I'd listen to Bob on Globebusters tomorrow to get a lesson in corporate shields, which is irrelevant to all of this, and the difference between the body corporate and the individual. Dumbass. Okay, well, check this out, sweetheart. I tried to be cordial with you, man. I really did. Okay, and some people are actually like, you're too nice to these people. No.
Now, in case anybody doesn't already know this, Mike of the, I think he's called something like Mike of the House of Kavanagh. That is a freeman on the land name. You can't have a freeman on the land signing contracts, not if he's a genuine freeman on the land. You see, he would have to use his legal name to sign the contract, and they said the legal name belongs to Lucifer or the Satan or the beast. So, you see what I mean by not a full shilling?
That's just how I try and get things together. Okay, this is not harassment. I neither displayed nor did I breach anybody's privacy. Okay, if anything, you would actually have to be pointing that finger at yourself or to your web creator, who you obviously have no control over, as you said. You will have to point that at yourself for making that information public on every page that you got, or every version of your website that you've ever done. Okay.
Okay.
That's public information, and you guys want to get...
Enough of that. You can get the gist. Snice made a video about FE Core, showing all kinds of stuff that FE Core had public on their website, said things about those details that were being shown. The people who are hiding as a little covert group in FE Core then complained because he's making them look bad. Even though all he did was, well, show the details. Just, he didn't make any CGI amendments or, any photo. No, just straightforward details from the website. So, a small clique of people engage in bringing down his channel, or at least having those videos removed. Okay, that's what Kennedy was saying were the tactics of the enemy. You see, until recently, it's been very simple to see this as a battle between two enemies. Enemies mutually. Okay, so flat earthers are the enemies to the globelings. Globelings are the enemies to the flat earthers, which is a very simplistic way of looking at the world. And then the infiltrators in that framework, in that paradigm. So here's realists and here's globelings. And the realists can say, if there were any infiltrators amongst us, they will come from that band of globelings, from NASA and the established academia and It's like, no, stupids. Any infiltrators to our groups, to our organizations, to our pursuit would be the same people that Kennedy warned as infiltrating the American society. It's not the FBI, the CIA, that are doing the infiltration, dim-dims. It's the same people who would like to make America a socialist nation, who would like to make the entirety of Europe a socialist nation. And by socialist we mean as a little step up to outright communism. Okay? It's not the American authorities that are infiltrating. David Weiss is not with the American authorities. These people are with the enemies of the American authorities. That's why they have no problem setting up a patsy like Mike, saying, hey, how about you set up this organization? And you be the head of it, and you're outside of America, so they can't touch you. And you set it up, and it'll be great, and we can bring down NASA. Does that sound like something the American government would do? Set up an organization to bring down NASA? I don't think so. I think it's what the enemies of America would do. Now, obviously, NASA is not like the most upstanding administration. Obviously, they do a lot of lying and tricking. But you have to remember, you have to have patience, and you have to remember, the stuff they're making is for children. Yes, they are brainwashing children, but they're also brainwashing adults. If those adults have their paradigms destroyed, the system collapses. You understand? If sufficient people have their paradigms destroyed, the system collapses. What does a system collapse look like? Look at South Africa. Look at Zimbabwe. Communicating earlier with Cosmic Surfer. Look at the Soviet Union. Look at what it looks like when a system actually collapses. And I'm not talking about the end of the Soviet Union. I'm talking about when the pre-Soviet system collapsed into the Soviet. It's death and misery, starvation, disease. So NASA are there to keep those people who have been brainwashed into not having their paradigm destroyed. That's why they're there. And some of you might be thinking, oh, you're defending. I am defending NASA. I am defending NASA right now. What are NASA doing? They're keeping the dim-dims happy. Do you want the dim-dims to suddenly go nuts? Think of how many there are in the world. The vast majority of the world has incredibly low IQ, especially in the West. Very, very low IQ. Well, and the Middle East. Well, Middle East, much lower than the West. Very low IQ. You know, like it's got electrolyte type IQ. They're keeping those people happy. Oh, we might go to Mars. And do you want those people to lose their minds? There won't be enough hospital beds in psychiatric wards. There won't be enough police. There won't be enough anyone, because those people are pretty low IQ too. Lots of them. Do you want those people to lose their mind and to turn against the government? Is that what you'd like? If so, unsubscribe from this channel and go and follow the others. I'm not kidding. I don't want people who want to bring down society subscribe to this channel. This is not for those people. You can go to Jeranism or Irulanducci, some of those channels. Seriously, think about it. Don't just react and respond. Don't have your thoughts guided by shills and infiltrators. Don't allow them to guide your thoughts. Now we're going to go into seeing how else thoughts are guided. Give me a second. Okay, back here. Enough for Slice Arcane. What's this? Oh, we're going to listen to this. Who remembers this? Huh? Okay, we're going to listen to this. What you're going to hear is called virtue signaling. It's almost like doing the sign of the cross around other Christians. It's a way of saying we're this group. Okay, so what you're going to see is what you're going to hear, sorry, is virtue signaling. Listen.
Brilliantly put. Name.
Oh, little wheel. Apologies.
So can we?
Okay, let me go back. Hey, come on.
Of the Longthorn a favour. Brilliantly put. Name.
Oh.
Simple. So can we at least do?
Apologies, my thing is stuttering. Let me make it smaller and go back. Pay close attention when it plays.
A favour. Brilliantly put. Name names, offer evidence, and let people decide for themselves. Simple.
That's right. Somebody said name names, offer evidence. Let people decide. It doesn't matter what specifically they're talking about. Some of you might know. That's not important. What's important is what's being said. Somebody made this suggestion. This person says, that's right.
So can we at least do that within
Tony.
this live hangout and make sure that on a playback, because I will mirror this on my channel as well. If we can make sure that we deliver all of that so that people can watch this and go and make their own minds up about what they should do. And
Okay. I'm going to go back and play. Listen.
I will mirror this on my channel.
I will mirror this on my channel. So, somebody said, name names, present evidence. And this woman, who I exposed last week or the week before, says, can we do that? I will mirror this video on my channel. Oopsie, that person forgot to mirror this on their channel. You can go and check, you won't find it. Okay? What this person is doing is virtue signaling. It sounds like a reasonable thing to do. Name names and present evidence. No evidence is presented whatsoever. None. But if you look in the chat, somebody, 7th Kevin, and this is about an imposter who went by the name of Patricia Steer. This, for those of you who might not know, is a transgender who was playing the role of a woman in the flat earth. Not really important. Anyway, it left through a hissy fit, through all kinds of accusations, and somebody is writing in the chat, she, it's not really a she, but you know, if it's the preferred pronoun, okay, we'll be back. That's right. You see, look, this was June 13. That person said it will be back. This whole hangout was bemoaning the fact this imposter had left the flat earth and closed its channel. Well, a month later, wait for the channel to open, it reappeared. You see it right here. The subscribers are hidden because there's not many subscribers. The people who made this hangout bemoaning it having left don't seem to have done another hangout in jubilation to it returning. See? Now let's go into the about. You'll see the date. And this is that imposter, by the way. July 21st, just over a month after leaving because of the. And this, if you look at the videos, only a few videos, very few views, 261 1 month ago, 233. Looks like very, very few views. 833, the most. Ooh. For somebody that everybody was depressed about it having left the whole flat earth discussion is very poor views. Now these people who made these hangouts, and these people, just bear with me,
as well.
let me minimize this. I'll show you some other infiltrators. Or seriously compromised individuals. Everything that was beauty became ugly. Again, the actual subject is not important. You can look into it if you want. What's important is the tactics that are being employed. Let's oops, sorry. Back a bit. Okay. Oh, my computer's messing up a bit. Right, here we are. Here's one. Okay. I'm just going to go through a series of various different people. And some of these people I had dealings with. Okay, so this is Karen B. Bemoaning that the imposter had left flat earth. Where's the video? Just give me a second. This video, escaping flat earth. Okay, this video. Now, let's look at David Wise. Oh, sorry. I'm going to go through a list of people who mirrored that video. I mean, I think the whole thing is going wrong for them because consciousness is kind of changing. Here you are, escaping flat earth. This video. Right, now let's go to Paul on the plane. Now, for truth seekers, the thing to do would be to try to get to the truth. There's the video. A link to it anyway. Oh, now let's go to Globusters. Jeronism didn't, or he might have and then pulled it. I don't know. Conflicting stories, but it's not on his channel. Let's see. Oh, has it been pulled? Huh? Oh dear. I don't see it. Oh no, there it is. Different photo. Okay. Escaping flat earth with an imposter. There. Okay. Let's check Celebrate Truth. Now, in that video, a whole series of people are slandered and defamed. Now, the video is a video, so that's slander is voiced and defamation is in writing, I think. Here it is, Celebrate Truth. Who Celebrate Truth? The guy who organises the conferences. That's right. That's who. Let's look at Oh, I've not checked this one. 7th Day Truth Seeker, I think is the channel. Let's see. I haven't checked this channel, by the way. So let's see. I don't see it. Anyway, so there's a bunch of people who mirrored this video. Escaping Flat Earth. Mark Sargent, interestingly enough, did not. Oops. I have a message. Right. Sorry about that. Oh, okay. I don't see. Anyway, so why would truth seekers repeat something without knowing whether or not what they were repeating was true? Isn't that what flat earthers accuse globe believers of doing? Don't flat earthers accuse globe believers of repeating stuff about the globe without having checked to see whether or not those things are true? Yes, that is what flat earthers do, including myself. I've accused globelings of doing that because it's true. They don't check. You know, like feather hammer drops and things like that. They don't bother checking. So when Kennedy was explaining the methods employed, Dre D, journalism might be Jesuit trained. Might be, might not. Not important. When Kennedy was explaining the methods employed by the enemy of the United States, when that enemy was a covert system for taking over, he gives a list of examples. That same group still exists. That same group is the group that's infiltrating flat Earth. It is not the FBI, not the legit side of the FBI. It might be elements of the because the FBI, you see, the FBI, the CIA, the other security organizations or systems have been infiltrated themselves. We see this with the whole Clintons and Russia collusion and all of that silliness. Okay, that's the group that's infiltrating, folks. It's not a friendly group. It's not a good group. It's a group that doesn't want truth. It's a group that likes destruction. It's a dark group. There are people who like destruction in the world. That's who is running these guys. And there will be some of them who don't realize that they're being run. So the difference between the person who knows they're being run and the person who's being run and doesn't know it is that the person who's being run and doesn't know it is a patsy. That's a patsy. That's what Lee Harvey Oswald literally said about himself, that he was a patsy. That's what he said. Anyway, there you go. You have an explanation of how infiltration happens. There used to be a video. I looked for it before going live. I spent a while looking for it. I couldn't find it. If somebody finds it and can share it in the link, that would be cool. I'll play it. It was a video from the BBC. Now, obviously, the BBC has been infiltrated, of course. It doesn't mean everybody in the BBC is an infiltrator or is malevolent. Obviously, that's not how it works. The whole thing would have gone up in flames by now. They need think of this. Think of a covert narcissist and what they do to a small group, including the people who were defending and bemoaning and in in mourning about it having left. In the Flat Earth, there was a covert narcissist who played itself as under the name Patricia Steere. I exposed that person as a covert narcissist because I know that person because it lived with me. It hadn't lived with any of the other people. It lived with me for 2 months. It was hell. Anyway, I exposed it as a covert narcissist because that's what it is. I asked it to leave because it was a covert narcissist. I couldn't wait. Anyway, I digress. What the covert narcissist does in their circle of friends, in their environment, to the people around them, is the same that the group that was being warned about by Kennedy does to organizations. So the covert narcissist does to individuals what a covert, malevolent organization does to individual organizations. That's what we're seeing in the Flat Earth. And the people in the Flat Earth who say, if you just don't think about it, it goes away, are delusional people. And of course, we do have delusional people in the Flat Earth. People who say, just don't mention it, just don't bring attention to it. It's like, that's how it festers, you know. But anyway. So, what Kennedy was saying, oh wait, I'll go back to the video that I was looking for. The BBC, a program called Hard Talk. It used to have a presenter who unfortunately committed suicide. That presenter, who had been doing a whole series of interviews and including the program Hard Talk, interviewed a British military person. So, a soldier, a former soldier actually, in the British Army. This former soldier in the British Army was in the British Army from Northern Ireland. This soldier from British Army from Northern Ireland joined the IRA as an infiltrator. The way it went undetected was by being as vicious as the next vicious, genuine Irish Republican Army member. It smelt like an IRA member. It behaved like an IRA member. It made bombs like an IRA member for the British government. That's how the British government were getting tips on where the bombs were being planted. This was an interview on the BBC. Now, this interview was after the IRA stopped its activities. So, the IRA, who were obviously suspicious and on the lookout for infiltrators, didn't spot that this guy was an infiltrator. That's the IRA. If you think a disparate band of flat earthers are as savvy at spotting infiltrators as the IRA, then you're delusional. So what I'm trying to do is explain to people there are infiltrators in the flat earth. They're not going to appear like infiltrators. They're going to appear like flat earthers. But because consciousness is changing in the world, things are being exposed, including by myself, about infiltrators. So pay attention. Eternal Padawan. Good to see you in my chat, dude. You can have a wrench. Long time. I see lots of flat earthers who wouldn't come onto this channel until a certain someone left the flat earth. Now that they're seeing the weakness in that band, it's like, oh, now we can openly chat in Antonio's channel. Some of you, will have just not known that my channel was back. You just won't have received notifications from my dead channel because it was killed. But some of you will have known. I thought, oh no, I'm not mentioning anything because if I say something in Antonio's chat and then I go and say something in other people's chats, I get banned because I said something in Antonio's chat. Are you hearing, Ace McLeod? So, These are the tactics of the infiltrators. Ultimate TV 9000. I haven't seen that. Mentions. Oh, you already have a wrench. Oh, wait a second. There's an interesting message from Basamosa 1 or Basamosa 1. My wife is flying over from San Francisco. Let me start again. My wife is flying over from San Francisco to Derbyshire in a couple of weeks, and she, damn it, and the whole thing jumped. She is a Globie. What test do you suggest she does while flying to prove her wrong? None. If she's a Globie, she won't do the test. It's really simple. There is a test she could do, but it involves really paying attention, and a Globie's not going to really pay attention. Globies refuse to put effort into looking at the details of their own model, because we've already pointed out, the details of your model actually crumble your model, don't you? So they don't look at the details of their model, like their geometry. That's looking at their model. If you was to say to your wife, do these things, that means paying attention every 20 minutes to your compass readings. If she's a Globling, she's not going to. So, sorry. But if you're flying over, no, you say it's your wife. Nothing, dude. Good. Nothing. Anyway. Oh, wait, somebody had a link. Wait a second. I saw a link. Was it this? David Prince. I'm looking to see if that's the link to the Hard Talk interview. The guy was in silhouette, obviously, I'll see very quickly if it was. And if it is, I'll play portions of it. So obviously, why would you interview this person on the television and let the public see this? Wouldn't it be better to not show this? That way, if there's ever... Wait. That way, if there's ever... this wasn't the one. It was in the studio and he was in silhouette, and it was the previous presenter, the one who committed suicide. He also did the Money program, the presenter who committed suicide. Oh, sorry.
So this video is a follow-up.
Poor guy. I don't know what that is. Somebody has shared that. Oh, close the never mind. What was I saying? Yes, no, that wasn't the one. Thanks for looking. I found that one, but no, the guy who was in the studio and who was shot without illumination across the table. So the question you might ask, why would they do this? Hasn't this just given their game away? If there was another organization, wouldn't that organization now know the kind of tricks that are going to be used? Like, yes, that's why you expose it, to make that organization suspicious of everybody else in that organization. So, here, Hammond Walker, my barometer is always put Team Subirats here. So far, after more than 20 attempts, only one response, and that was welcome. Haha! Cool, Hammond Walker. Where was that welcome? That's a good move. Team Subirats. Or team, anybody that's not part of that clique. It doesn't have to be my channel. Just anybody who's not part of that clique. Team Orphan Red. Same thing. It's like, whoa, not part of our clique. Whereas here, as you see, this is like, imagine an echo chamber where you've gone out of your way to knock holes through all the walls. That's giving wrenches to everyone. What does that mean? Well, it's not an echo chamber now, is it? I mean, Conspiracy Cat, Sam and Dan, Globebusters, who else? Jeronism. They all have Wolfie6020. They all have wrenches here. All of them have wrenches here. They know they can come here, say anything they want. See? Anyway, earn your file. I was going to say poor Wolfie. I hit that. I don't know. Somebody might passed it, but anyway. That's right, Just Blue. It's not a competition. But if you want to expose, the infiltrators, the compromised groups, all you have to do is go into their chats, same team, just team, whatever. Anybody that's not already part of their clique. Doing that tells them, I'm in here to see if whether or not you're part of this clique. And you'll see from their behavior, because they'll read the chat, that they'll stutter, and their wrenchers will act quickly. And you'll know. There you go. Just exposed you as being part of a infiltrated, compromised clique. Chrissy Lynn, anytime. I was hardcore NASA fangirl prior to this, opening my eyes. Thank you all from Red and Antonio. You're welcome. Seems to be red. If only red wasn't the colour of the communists. It's also the colour of the Catalans from my region. The sash, the red sash. And the red handkerchief. A traditional costume I'm talking about. Let's see. I'm looking in the chat. According that side, in your soccer account, I've been banned from so many channels. Oh, sorry, I thought it was in. Madame Medusa writes, according to that side, which is a small side, think about it. Mike Ball, Mr. Thrive and Survive. Taboo Conspiracy is being sucked in, but it's not really going to work. It isn't really going to work because, you see, Taboo Conspiracy is a real Christian. And I just said that. Yeah, that's right. Taboo Conspiracy is a real Christian. A real Christian doesn't engage in dirty tricks, doesn't hide things. And at the minute that Taboo Conspiracy sees himself, and they'll take a long time acclimatizing him. They will take a long time acclimatizing him and then attempt. But he will spot it because he's sharp. The minute that happens, you'll have another person like me exposing them. And that will be Taboo Conspiracy. Bobby Rice, en los chats de Iru siempre tiene gente encargada de eliminar todo comentario que esté fuera de su conformidad. Eso se ha de tener muy en mente. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué hacer eso? Aquí tengo un montón de Globelings que tiene llaves inglesas. Bueno, no importa. Back to English. That completely derailed whatever I was saying. 142 watching and only 50 likes. Something no kosher about the way they show likes. And Malon, yes, I've seen. I don't really go on about it because it's just little tricks. I've seen my likes drop by about 20. You know. It's like, I've looked at that, that's interesting, so a high number of likes, that's cool, and then the next day, I've checked, and it's like, it's dropped by 20. Either 20 people liked it, listened, and thought, I disagree with this, dislike, or it's just little dirty tricks. Zenboy, sorry. Hi Antonio, have you seen the latest from Rocket's Push Off Air? I haven't. Pasamos a uno. I'm glad you have the first one. When it's finished, as soon as it's finished, I will let everybody know. Yeah. Ah, yes, but get word. That's right, Peter and Pete. So what these people do is they like to play the infiltrators. They like to play like they're the big important ones. That's how they infiltrate organizations. Do you want to be part of the group that's going to change the world? And you're an FBI agent. And you're like, sure. Well, we're an ultra secret FBI core that nobody... And there you go. Now they're FBI and infiltrated. So that's how it goes. They try to say the group is, and we have members everywhere. It's in freaking 1984, for goodness sake. The book by Goldstein, which doesn't exist, is put there to make people look for other people who are also curious about Goldstein's book. It's done on purpose. Anyway, Orwell knew very well what he was doing. So that clique, if you think about it, it's a small clique. The number of people that are completely independent from them is huge in comparison. But the media goes to the clique, and the people that are not the core clique, the people who support them, they think that, oh, they're the ones because the media, you see. But they're just the stupids, and they're not very effective. So instead, you have hundreds of thousands of channels that are not part of the clique. I'm not saying this because the clique is something to be really worried about, or I'm just saying this so that people keep their eyes open. Just that, just keep your eyes open. You might have a small channel. You might present something pretty good. Somebody shares your stuff. You feel, wow, such a buddy shared my stuff. That's cool. And it is cool. And if you like that person, you're like, oh, that's cool. And then if there's contact between you, I give, for example, Danny Diesel. Cool stuff. There's contact between us. And it's cool. And I was Danny Diesel. So, I mean, you know what I mean. It's cool. But now imagine that I started asking Danny Diesel to do little sneaky things. I think Danny Diesel would say, sorry, I didn't read that email, kind of thing. Well, that's what these guys do. And I'm saying this for the small channels, because the majority of the heavy stuff, the big hitters, I predicted it, by the way. Dan Falconback, you're not watching, but you know that I did. The big punches, the big blows, are not going to come from the big channels. They're going to come from the small channels. And they are doing. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. Useful idiots. That's right, says Tesla's Apple. Right, now I'm looking in the chat. Well, as you see, because I just read something from the chat. I see somebody else that doesn't have a wrench. Let me see if I can give you a wrench. That's Matty Bomb. Yeah, oh, you do have a wrench, okay. What happens when you give wrenches out from here? So you give a wrench, and that person doesn't show us having a wrench either until they refresh or until they comment later. But if I just see somebody that doesn't have a wrench, I give them a wrench, then I see them again, I go, right, I'll give them a wrench in case it didn't quite take, and it says then remove moderator, and that tells me that they do have a wrench. So if you hear me saying, I'll give such a buddy a wrench, oh, you already have a wrench. It's not that I'm, that I can't see. 1 second. One sec. I'll give you a for instance. Okay. For instance, Orphan Red has been in this investigation for about the same amount of time as me. But Orphan Red was pushed out and not promoted. And what they do is they simply don't mention anything and people don't know about them. So, because obviously YouTube itself doesn't promote you, the growth of subscribers is very slow. But Orphan Red has got some tremendous examples. And I'm not saying Orphan Red small channel. I'm saying small channels or tremendous content. They're just not mentioned by these people because it's like, well, if we include them, they might be part of a different gang, and it's just stupid. Right, okay, Madame Medusa. And by the way, Orphan Red does have... Orphan Red was chatting with me one time. We had this video. This was on my previous channel. It was just such a killer video because it was showing the filaments that I describe as being the filaments that present the sun. And it was from her flight from Canada to Las Vegas. Or back, I'm not sure. Absolutely amazing. Looking down onto the ground, seeing the filaments that aren't actually, they're not cables. They're just field lines, for want of a better word. Right, I'm reading Madame Medusa's comments. Do you think that when people were put in the Hurricane Katrina dome was a testing ground to see how people acted in disaster? It was reported that people were losing the plot. I think it was, so the way the government works, they get as much out of any situation as they possibly can. So I don't think it was a testing ground. I think it was a means for keeping as many of them safe as possible that could then be studied. If there had been no people going crazy, then the study wouldn't have taken place. Instead, the study would have been, oh, look at how people cooperate when in very crowded. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, testing ground for things like the Red Cross giving out credit cards for water. That was a bit out of order, huh? Credit cards for water. How about you just give them water free, dude? What is this? Anyway, so. Eternal Padawan. Got to go. Oh, that jumped up. Sorry. Oh, I've missed it. I've lost it. You were saying, and I'm reading Eternal Padawan because we chatted a couple of times on just informally, not in person, through what's it? I've lost the message. Angry Beaver Visual Arts, and Tony, thank you for presenting the Daniel Schmachlenberger video the other day. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were joking. That is his real name. Schmachlenberger video the other day. Really enlightening, isn't it just? So for anybody who's not familiar with what this means, I presented a video. Let me see if I can well, you can find it yourselves. It's called The War on Sense Making. And it's really, another way of calling it would be a war on legitimate information. That's what it is. And it's explaining how convoluted things have become in the world and how to attempt to combat them. How to attempt to combat these things, the fake news of the world, you know? Sorry, 1 second. Right. So yeah, the war on sense making, absolutely, just brilliant and a really good exercise. It's a taxing exercise. And you should do things that tax you, like mentally. Chuck the Canuck, been saying for years that water should be free wherever you go. In Britain, it's the law that any establishment that sells food and drink, if you go in and ask for a glass of water, they have to give you a glass of water. It's the law. Some places will try to sell it to you. Because you see, they'll try it. Some people don't know that this is the case. Like, for instance, here's another law that people don't know in Britain. In Britain, you have organisations who have a policy of not accepting £50 bills. So we have £50 bills, and there are companies who say, no, we don't accept £50 bills. Now, it's the law in Britain that when you present a £50 bill, which is legal tender, it has to be accepted as a method of payment. If they refuse to accept it, you no longer have to pay. You don't have to go and get change from somewhere else. You don't have to ask people if they have change. It's the law. The same with a glass of water. But people try it. People say, oh, well, our policy is like, policy cannot trump the law of the land. And it's not just the law of the land, it's the acts of Parliament. It's actual, the whole made up structure of law that's given the power of law, or the weight of law, but it's not really law, they're acts of Parliament. Framed in that, free water. Obviously, you can't just go in and say, I want a bath full of water. Because it's like, well, no, go in the river. That's right. Toddy UK writes, they also have to allow you to use toilet if they serve food, even if you're not a patron. You have the right to use the toilet. It's a lot more civil than people think. But they will try to say, no, you have to buy a drink. I'll buy a drink on my way out. Oh, no, I don't. When you go into the toilet, they're not going to come and wrestle you out of the toilet. So, yeah. Chrissy Lynn writes, stores want to allow $50 or $100 bills in the US. Crazy. It's legal tender. That's right. I don't know how it's framed in the US, but in Britain, they're obliged to. That's how it goes. And if they have big problems, then you can tell them to go and get change. See? So you're tricking them into accepting it. You'll have to go and get changed. No. You go and get changed. Yeah. Then they give you the change. Well, okay, here's £10. Can I pay with the £10? Anyway. Whoa. Bozak TBC. I remember you had to contact Antonio's sister. Don't know if that's still the case. Who are you writing to? Because that's about the book. So I'm getting some more copies of the book printed. When I do, I will be letting everybody know, and I will be selling them through the website that's called The Book of the Sun. So it won't be going through my sister. It will be going through there. Right, you already have a wrench. Wait, somebody's saying... So, P. Murray, Level Earth UK, I was turned down a £50 Scottish note once, too many fakes around, they said. That's okay. If it wasn't fake, you have the right to say, no, you accept it, sorry. Or, I don't pay. You can call the police. And then you explain to the police why you're not accepting the money. Memes are up next. Danny Diesel. Oh yeah, Danny Diesel's been doing some cool videos, by the way. So Sasha's writing about David Lapointe's new vid and tech. It's very interesting, guys. If you haven't seen it, so some of you will have watched Globebusters. Give a little synopsis. It's like, wouldn't it be good if they actually went into it? I don't know if they actually get it. There are some gaps in what's being explained. There are some gaps. I can fill in. That's right, with the Book of the Sun theory of the Earth, which also explains gravity and levity. But yeah, so David Lapointe's video. Go and watch it. Sasha, please paste the link in the chat, please. Please. Right. Yeah, lots of people don't like taking Scottish notes in England. Yeah. But you can just, if you have Scottish notes, you can go into your bank, and if you don't want the hassle of explaining to be or the will they, won't they, just go into your bank and change them for English notes. Yeah. Right, guys, I'm roasting. Next book. The next book that comes out is fiction. The one after that is the second Book of the Sun. Second study into the real world. In it, I've already started it, by the way. I'm going to explain some of what's happening right now in the Earth and what's going to happen in the future. In the Book of the Sun, I already explained what was going to happen in the very near future, and it's happening. Now I'm going to explain in much finer detail how it is that we're going from quite cold days to quite warm days to quite cold days to quite warm days. And it's not simple convection. It's not simple convection. It's not just cold winds, warm winds, cold winds. But what causes the cold winds, warm winds, cold winds? See, the whole theory behind the globe and the globe ideas of things like weather patterns is mistaken. There's a truth to the weather patterns. It's not the globe theory, though. The globe theory can't explain the magnetic anomaly or the gravitational anomalies. They can't explain it. Mine does. Mine can. So, infinitely superior, guys. That's what I was going to call the book, by the way. Infinitely superior. And I say it in the book. I explain that any theory that is at least possible is infinitely superior to one that is logically impossible. Like the globe theory. Big Bang. Logically impossible. Just no. So any theory that's not logically impossible, that's not based on a logical impossibility, is infinitely superior to a theory that's logically impossible. Infinitely superior. So, I might call the next book that. Don't know. Infinitely superior to the Book of the Sun. Oh, I might. Right, anyway, that's it, folks. I'm going to go. I hope you've all enjoyed, and if you've caught only the last part, watch the start, because the start is about real kind of flat earth stuff. Now, I'm not always going to be going on and pointing fingers and going, look at those bunch of cretins. Or first, I'm going to start making less. I'm going to start holding less hangouts because I want to spend more time on the work I'm doing. I will be doing hangouts, but the hangouts I do will be about reality, the real world, real discoveries, rather than little incidental distractions from controlled groups. One of the reasons for having control groups is to serve as small distractions. So, but I do like to point it out. Say, oh, look, big distraction. Well, I wonder if that means anything, people. Which is different if you think about it. So, you're in a situation and suddenly somebody's dancing. Like, oh, you're distracted because somebody's dancing. That would be being distracted by, well, the person dancing. That's a distraction. And meantime, oh, you're being pickpocketed. If instead You're in a situation and somebody starts dancing and you go, whoa, somebody's dancing. That's a pretty good distraction, isn't it? Suddenly everyone goes, whoa, yeah, hold on. Yeah, what the heck is that distraction about? You see what I'm doing? Okay. So, there you go. Enjoy, guys. Thanks for the evening. Thank you, Chriselyn. Everybody else, Martin Connolly, everybody else, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time. Bye.